One of the hallmarks of anime for the longest time has been the dreaded filler episode, or even worse, a whole arc of just bullshit, a whole arc of filler, you know? And the anime most known for this when the topic comes up is, of course, Naruto and Bleach, and whatever it is spoken about, it's always in a negative light, you know? Over the course of my time watching anime, trust me when I say no one, and I mean no one hates filler more than I do, you know? I watched the entirety of the Bound arc thinking it was canon at the time. It was my younger days. I was just getting back into anime. I didn't know any better. I didn't know about the filler lists. I just watched it and I was like, wow, this shit is ass. But I'm gonna watch it because it matters to the story. And I don't even get me started on the filler hell that was the Infinite Tsukuyomi during the Fourth Great Ninja War. I did watch that. I genuinely did, because every week I would tune in hoping that we would get back to Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, you know, them under the Susanoo, but whatever. Looking back at it, I can admit that there is a place for filler in anime. Recently, I've been seeing people talking about how they feel we don't spend enough time with characters these days in anime, mostly when it comes to JJK. So in this video, I want to speak on the benefits of having filler in anime and how it can be done in a modern day setting with the seasonal schedule that we've, you know, become accustomed to with modern day anime. So with all the preamble out the way, I want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the last video. I really did appreciate it. You're still trying to hit 1,300 subs. We're at 1,260 something right now as of this making of this video. So please continue liking, commenting, subscribing. Now let's get it done.
Naruto, 1 hour premiere Saturday, September 10th at 9. No guts, no glory, only Toonami.
The first thing to establish going into this video is that manga is inherently a very restrictive medium. The author has to fit as much of their story into the panels provided, which for a weekly manga is typically anywhere between 18 to 20 pages, and monthly is usually 35 to 40 pages. So outside of the story, its necessary elements and character development, depending on the type of story, there is no real time for the author to tell fun stories with our characters, right? And this is where I believe the anime studio can come in. I know that people usually recoil at the idea of hearing about filler, much less that we should intentionally put filler into anime, especially these days. The thing is though, that while I can agree that studios can't tell a better story than, say, the manga artist could, because it is that manga artist's vision at the end of the day, depending on the length and most importantly pace of the manga, a filler arc can give us more time to spend and connect with these characters that we've grown to love even more, right? Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most beloved and popular anime today, but with only 270 chapters, which, yes, I know that sounds like a lot, but you know, looking back at previous manga we're gonna get into, it's not that much. Gege had to keep his story tight. If you read JJK, there's pretty much no chapter where something isn't happening, or if there is a conversation being had, is to drive the plot forward, right? While character development does happen over the course of the story, certain things and characters aren't as fleshed out or explored as they could be, because there's so many interesting topics in JJK that aren't really explored like that, right? I'm not saying the ones that are relevant aren't, they are, but I'm just talking about like past stuff, right? But it's because they aren't relevant to the story being told. The slice of life episodes that we used to hate so much back in the early days can fix this problem. Sure, it may not transfer over into the main story being told, but it would mean more for us as the audience, right? Which is the important part, because we're the ones watching it, consuming it, and want to, you know these characters, right? One of the most beloved pieces of filler in anime is when Rock Lee faces off against a knockoff version of the 8 Gates with the 7 Heavenly Breaths, is what I believe it was called. It was pretty cool. I did like it. But it took one of the most beloved characters in the series that pretty much had no screen time or relevance in Shippuden, because Kishimoto didn't have any use for him anymore, and they gave the fans something with him. Because I don't know if you know, pretty sure Kishimoto was going to kill off Rock Lee at the end of that Gaara fight. I'm pretty sure that's what he intended to do, but he didn't, because he made Naruto more lighthearted than he intended it to be. But this is where filler really shines. It's not, you know, the random world-ending threat for some reason kind of thing. It should give characters that aren't the main character a chance to shine, or even just have the main character chill out for a little bit and not suffer their entire time. Speaking about shonen main characters, right? But outside of this, you can develop and explore relationships or even concepts that may not have been given enough time in the main story. The Zanpakuto arc in Bleach is a great example of this. We always see Ichigo talking to Zangetsu throughout the story in his inner world, but we never get to see this with any of the other captains or just characters that have Zanpakuto in Bleach outside of like Kenpachi, I guess. And you know, Kenpachi is a really special case because he was just so powerful that his Zanpakuto developed a consciousness of its own. And you know, he limited himself and whatnot, but that's not getting to Kenpachi. I'll make a video on him eventually. But seeing everyone face off against their Zanpakuto and seeing how the relationship between them was a very welcome addition to the story. So much so that Kubo was heavily involved in the creation of this arc. So it shows that if done right, it can even hint at things that will be handled later on down in the story, right? Because, you know, the Blade is me thing with Ichigo and all that kind of stuff. But filler itself was bad when it was a necessity, because it kept, you know, the manga from the anime from catching up to the manga, that kind of stuff. But in a climate where this isn't a worry anymore, it can be a compliment to the manga. The whole obligatory beach episode in anime is definitely a meme today, and for you horn dogs out there, you're kind of the reasons why that's a meme, other than the fact that it was just done so much. But if the studio is smart about when they do things like this, I think it can be received well in the story, to be honest. I've seen people online ask for filler with JJK. Those little like ending snippets at the end of those JJK episodes, people loved those things, right? And taking a break from all the fighting to sit with our characters is something people want. I mean, as much as people give Demon Slayer shit for its, I guess, only 2 training arcs, they make it seem like it's way more than it actually is. The interactions between those characters is one of the reasons why we love them. Or, you know, you guys love them. I don't really care about Demon Slayer like that. I don't really enjoy it. You know, seeing the interactions between characters in ways we wouldn't see if it was a serious arc is really good. It kind of gives the characters more life, and it makes them more believable. So, yeah.
We stand in awe before that which cannot be seen.
So moving into this section of the video where we speak about how it fits into the modern day, I want to say that with anime moving more and more away from the 24 episodic format, it will become more difficult to slot filler in to anime just because you're only allotted so many episodes. But I do still think there is a place for it, again, if done correctly. First, it's important to note that I don't expect these to be done at the same level as a regular canon episode in terms of animation. This isn't the point of these. I think the lack of quality in animation should be made up for with the quality of the story being told, so as to not put even more stress on the animators, because they are, believe me, under enough stress with the animation schedules that they get, right? Those things like that. And another thing to touch on is that I don't think it should be more than 3 episodes for a filler arc per season, so we don't get caught up in some grandiose scheme that has to rival the main story for some reason and involve elements from it that just don't make sense later on down the line. It should be something fun that the audience chooses whether or not they want to watch, you know, like the baseball episode at the end of JJK season 1. And before you get in my comment section, yes, I know it's not filler. Technically speaking, it's kind of filler in the manga. I mean, it's canon. When I say filler, I just mean like, you know, just slice of life, mundane stuff. Just like cool stuff that doesn't affect the real story. That's the type of filler that I like. But I want the same vibes from that, and it should be at the end of the season to not break pacing in the middle of an arc. That was one of my main things with filler. That was one of the main problems that I had with filler when I was watching anime. We'd be involved in this critical fight in the story, or this big exposition is being told in the story, and randomly we would take a break to see something that has absolutely no relevance to the story at all. And actually, instead of just throwing it at the end of the season, a way better way to go about it actually would be to put it in between major arcs, actually. So maybe if your season's divided into 2 arcs, you could throw it in there to give you a little break. Or if the studio really wants to be creative with it, they can have the filler connect to the previous arc in some way. You know, if okayed by the author, show us what a character who didn't have that much relevance in this arc was up to. It could contribute to the world building. Think about times in an arc where we're like, oh, this character would have been really helpful here. Why aren't they here? And the author just kind of gets rid of them so that they don't mess with the story. If the author has no excuse as to why they weren't there, or if they do provide an excuse in the story and you just don't do anything with it, you know, make a little mini arc touching on what they possibly could have been going through. You know, it can be something silly, or maybe they are being held up by something that's urgent, you know, preventing them from being able to help in a specific arc. You know, maybe some like cool fight is going on, make up some cool filler villain, whatever. It ain't got to be world ending, just something stupid. Maybe it's like a stupid little challenge they got involved in. I don't know, you know, the different quirks of different strongest characters in anime. The point is, filler is a staple of anime that we have long abandoned, and I can admit, for the most part, it is for the best. And while I think the 50 episode long arc of filler needed to go for sure, there's definitely a place for some type of filler in modern anime. People long to see the characters they love doing stupid or pointless things, and this is what I think seasonal anime has taken away from us. If a story calls for it, a really good filler episode can honestly elevate an anime, and most definitely a character that you may not even know or care about, right? I know that people usually associate filler with a negative connotation when it is brought up, but I think it can be taken from something necessary studios had to do to keep people employed, or, you know, keep their lights on, to something that can keep fans entertained and enthralled in the world. The slow moments of a story are just as important as the highs. I always say it is the author's job to get us as the audience actually to care about different characters we are introduced to, both how quickly different manga companies are to axe a story if it does not perform well. I think manga artists are starting to only develop the characters that are necessary for the story being told. And this gap is where I believe filler should be allowed to exist in modern anime. But let me know what you guys think. You know, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you made it this far into the video, you did enjoy. So comment down below and give me your opinions on how you think filler can be better integrated into anime, or if it should be at all. And, you know, again, if you enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and all the good stuff that YouTube tells us to do, you know, to make me successful on YouTube so I can keep bringing you guys more videos like this. But I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.